A reading from John chapter 1, verses 6 to 8 and 19 to 28. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. This is the testimony given by John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" He confessed and did not deny it, but confessed, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "What then? Are you Elijah?" He said, "I am not." "Are you the prophet?" He answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Who are you? Let us have an answer for those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord,' as the prophet Isaiah said." Now they had been sent from the Pharisees. They asked him, "Why then are you baptizing if you are neither the Messiah, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?" John answered them, "I baptize with water. Among you stands one whom you do not know, the one who is coming after me. I am not worthy to untie the thong of his sandal." This took place in Bethany, across the Jordan, where John was baptizing. This is the word of the Lord.
If you stand back from the encounter between John the Baptizer and the great and the good of religious Jerusalem who come out to meet him, you cannot but be fascinated. And I myself would add the idea of being entertained by encounters which might have taken a lot longer to happen than they take us to read in a short passage from St. John's Gospel. Now I say both fascinated and entertained because this whole series of active encounters and positive disclosures is built on a succession of negatives. The priests and the Levites are left scratching their heads more than once as to the identity of this theological oddity, who defines himself time and again in terms of the small word no. Year after year, I associate this passage of Scripture with the musical work by Orlando Gibbons. This is the record of John, as sung on Advent Sunday in Christ Church Cathedral, Dublin. The musical capacity shown by organist, choir and soloist is stunning. But the significant length of this piece of music enables it to convey its message time and again, as well as giving voice to the humour of these intensely theological meetings. One by one, John says no to the suggestion that he is the Messiah, Elijah, or the prophet, that is Moses. His words echo down through the forensic theological landscape by clearing a pathway in the wilderness, not for himself, but for somebody else. Complicated though it might be for us to grasp the counterpoint of quotation from Scripture between these protagonists, this is where the real hand-to-hand combat happens, both with John the Baptizer and with his cousin Jesus, when the time comes for each of them to disclose their credentials. And by his answering no, John is opening up the straight way, the highway of which Isaiah spoke for the Lord. John is known as the baptizer clearly because his questioners seek to nail him about why he is baptizing, if he is none of the Messiah, Elijah, or the prophet. And again, he has no intention of falling into their trap. His baptism, as they can see for themselves in the water of the river Jordan in front of their very eyes, his baptism is with water. But in their very midst already stands one who has a much bigger agenda. That is the baptism in the Spirit of God. And they cannot see him in front of their eyes. It is Jesus of Nazareth. And how can he do this? It is because he is God. This is where their theological energy should really be going, not into the repeated questioning of somebody who keeps saying no. Saying no to anything today is difficult, and we are all so much more vulnerable to the self-trumpeting positives of others during the lockdown. Lockdown has significantly reduced our capacity to imagine beyond our immediate experience, precisely because our immediate experience is so frightening and so destructive. John the Baptizer, in the immediate run-up to Christmas, can inject the playfulness of faithfulness and the humour of humility into expectation. He can give us an entitlement to a knowing theological grin. St. John chapter 1 and the 19th verse. Who are you? He confessed and did not deny it, but confessed, I am not the Messiah.